My daughter-in-law forgot to invite me to my granddaughter's engagement dinner, then kicked me out of the house I helped pay for. I'm 76 now, sitting in this small apartment that smells like loneliness and old wood polish. The photograph in my hands shows Katniss at 7, gap-toothed and laughing on my shoulders. I raised that boy Wesley after his mother left. Taught him to tie his shoes, to treat women with respect, to honor family above all else. When Hermione came along, I welcomed her like the daughter I never had, helped them with the down payment. Babysat Katniss every weekend. I should have seen it coming. I am Atticus Brambleworth, 76 years old, retired clockmaker. Widower, 2 years ago, I buried my wife of 48 years in the same cemetery where we used to take evening walks. Cordelia always said the headstones looked peaceful in the twilight. She never mentioned how cold they felt under your palm when you're saying goodbye. Wesley found me 3 days later, still in my funeral suit, still sitting at the kitchen table where Cordelia used to leave my morning coffee. The house felt too big without her humming in the next room. My son took my hands in his, calloused from his construction work but gentle like I taught him. He said I shouldn't be alone, said Hermione agreed. Said their house had plenty of room. I believed him. The moving truck came on a Tuesday. I packed 43 years into cardboard boxes. Left behind the grandfather clock because Hermione said it was too loud for their open floor plan. Left behind Cordelia's rose garden because apartment living meant starting over. Hermione greeted me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She showed me to the guest room. Fresh flowers on the nightstand. Clean towels folded on the bed. She'd thought of everything except making it feel like home. The first month passed quietly. I tried to be helpful, fixed their leaky faucet, repaired Katniss's broken jewelry box. Cooked breakfast on Sundays like I used to do for Cordelia. But helpful became hovering. Cooking became intrusion. My presence became a problem. Hermione started speaking in suggestions. Maybe I'd be more comfortable eating dinner a bit earlier. Maybe I'd enjoy watching television in my room instead of the living room. Maybe I'd prefer taking walks when they weren't entertaining guests. Maybe meant move. Maybe meant disappear. I watched my son's face during these conversations. He'd nod along with his wife's maybes while avoiding my eyes. The boy who used to defend stray cats and broken toys now couldn't defend his own father. Katniss tried to bridge the gap. She'd sneak into my room after school, ask me to help with homework, listen to stories about her grandmother, but even she began to sense the tension. Her visits grew shorter, her laughter more careful. Hermione had rules I never heard spoken aloud. Don't use the good bathroom when guests are coming. Don't answer the door. Don't offer opinions about dinner plans or weekend activities. Don't exist too loudly in the space they'd graciously provided. I followed every unspoken rule, became smaller, quieter, more invisible. 3 months in, I overheard Hermione on the phone with her sister. She was complaining about having a houseguest who never left, about feeling watched in her own home, about privacy and space and boundaries. Houseguest. After 3 months of trying to belong, I was still just a temporary visitor. The holidays came and went. I helped with Christmas dinner but wasn't invited to Christmas photos. Too many people in the shot, Hermione explained. Better to keep it to immediate family. I was immediate family. I'd been immediate family when Wesley needed someone to teach him to drive, when he needed bail money for a teenage mistake, when he needed a cosigner for his first apartment. But immediate family had new definitions now. January brought a bitter cold that reminded me of the morning I buried Cordelia. I spent most days in my room, reading books I'd read before, listening to the sounds of a life that continued around me but without me. Then Katniss got engaged. She burst through the front door on a February afternoon, diamond catching the light, face bright with joy. Sherlock followed behind her, nervous but smiling, good boy, gentle hands. The kind of man who'd love my granddaughter the way she deserved. The house filled with excitement. Phone calls to relatives, plans for celebrations, talk of venues and guest lists and engagement photos. I waited for my invitation to join the planning. Waited to be asked my opinion about this boy who wanted to marry the little girl I'd helped raise. The waiting stretched into days, then weeks. Finally, Katniss mentioned the engagement dinner. Small and intimate, she said, just close family. This Saturday night. I pressed my good suit, polished my shoes. Waited by my bedroom door as the caterers arrived and the dining room filled with laughter and the sound of champagne glasses clinking. Nobody came to get me. I sat on the edge of my bed, listening to toasts I couldn't hear clearly, watching shadows move past my door. At some point, I realized the truth that had been building for months. I was living in their house. But I wasn't part of their family, not anymore. The dinner started at 7. I knew because I could hear the doorbell, the voices in the hallway, the scraping of chairs being arranged around the dining room table. I checked my reflection one final time. Navy suit, red tie, The same outfit I'd worn to Wesley's graduation 25 years ago. Cordelia had said I looked distinguished. Said the color brought out my eyes. 7:15. Still no knock on my door. Maybe they were waiting for everyone to arrive first. Maybe Hermione was putting the finishing touches on the meal. Maybe Katniss was showing off her ring to the relatives I could hear gathering in the next room. 7:30, the conversations grew louder, more animated. Someone laughed. A woman I didn't recognize, probably Hermione's sister from Portland. I opened my bedroom door just a crack, peered down the hallway toward the dining room. The table was set for 8. 8 chairs, 8 place settings, 8 crystal wine glasses catching the light from the chandelier. I counted the voices: Wesley, Hermione, Katniss, Sherlock, Hermione's parents, her sister, her brother-in-law, 8 people. 8 chairs, the math was simple, devastating, complete. I closed the door, sat back on the bed, stared at my hands folded in my lap. The same hands that had changed Wesley's diapers, taught him to throw a baseball. Walked him to his first day of school when his mother decided motherhood wasn't for her. 7:45. Hermione called everyone to dinner. I heard the shuffle of feet, the chorus of compliments about the table setting, the pop of a champagne bottle, a toast, Wesley's voice proud and emotional welcoming Sherlock to the family, talking about love and commitment and the future they were all building together, all of them together. I sat in the silence of my room while my family celebrated 20 feet away. The engagement dinner I should have been invited to, the moment I should have been part of. 8:30, I could smell the roast beef. Hermione's famous garlic potatoes. The dinner rolls she only made for special occasions. My stomach reminded me I hadn't eaten since breakfast, but I couldn't leave my room. Couldn't walk past the dining room where my absence had been carefully calculated. Where 8 chairs meant I was the 9th wheel. The extra, the one who didn't fit. 9 o'clock, the photographer arrived. I heard Hermione directing the family photos. Formal shots around the dining table. Casual ones in the living room. 3 generations celebrating together. 3 generations, except one was missing. I moved to my window. Watched through the sheer curtains as they assembled on the front porch for outdoor shots. Katniss in the middle glowing with happiness. Sherlock beside her, arm around her waist. Wesley and Hermione flanking them like proud parents. Hermione's family filled in the gaps, everyone smiling, everyone perfectly positioned, everyone who mattered. The photographer snapped dozens of pictures, different poses, different combinations. Parents with the couple, siblings with the couple. Extended family with the couple. Nobody asked where Grandpa was. 9:30, the photographer left. The family moved back inside. I could hear them looking through the camera's display, choosing favorites. Planning which ones to post on social media. Pictures that would announce Katniss's engagement to the world. Pictures that would tell the story of this perfect evening. Pictures that would never include any evidence I existed. 10 o'clock. Hermione's family started saying goodbye, hugs in the hallway, promises to see each other at the wedding, talk about shower dates and bachelor parties and all the celebrations still to come. I wondered if I'd be invited to any of them. If this was just the beginning of my erasure or the moment it became complete. 10:30. The house grew quiet, dishes being cleared, leftover food being stored, the normal sounds of a successful evening winding down. I was hungry. Desperately hungry, but I couldn't face walking into that kitchen where the evidence of my exclusion would be everywhere. 8 dirty plates, 8 used wine glasses, 8 places where people who mattered had belonged. 11 o'clock. A soft knock on my door. Katniss peeked in, still in her engagement dress, still glowing from the evening's attention. She looked at me sitting on the bed in my good suit, looked at my polished shoes, my pressed pants. My red tie that was supposed to bring out my eyes. Her face changed, the glow dimmed. "Grandpa, why didn't you come to dinner?" The question hit me like cold water. She didn't know. She had no idea I hadn't been invited. Had assumed I was busy, assumed I had chosen not to join them. "Nobody asked me to," I said quietly. Her face went pale. She looked back toward the dining room, back at me, the pieces falling into place. "I thought you were resting. I thought you didn't feel well." I wanted to comfort her. Tell her it was fine. Tell her not to worry about an old man's hurt feelings on her special night. But I was tired of making excuses for other people's choices. "I felt fine," I said. "I was ready." She saw my suit, my shoes, the effort I'd made for a celebration I was never meant to attend. Tears filled her eyes. "Grandpa, I'm so sorry." I believed her. She was sorry. She was also 22 years old and hadn't learned yet that some apologies can't fix what's already been broken. The damage was done. The message was clear. I didn't belong here anymore. 3 days passed before I found the courage to speak to Wesley. 3 days of tiptoeing around each other. 3 days of him avoiding eye contact at breakfast. 3 days of pretending the engagement dinner hadn't happened. I found him in the garage on Tuesday evening. He was organizing his tools. A project he only tackled when he needed to think. "Son, we need to talk." He didn't look up from the wrench set he was arranging by size. About Saturday night, I continued, his hands stilled, he finally met my eyes. Dad, I'm sorry, it was just supposed to be immediate family. The words hit exactly where they were aimed, immediate family. After everything we'd been through together, after every sacrifice I'd made raising him alone, I wasn't immediate family anymore. I helped raise that girl, I said quietly. I was there when she took her first steps. When she said her first word, when she needed someone to read bedtime stories because you were working double shifts. Wesley set down the wrench, rubbed his face with both hands. I know, Dad. I know you love her. Then why wasn't I there? The question hung between us like smoke, heavy, choking. He couldn't answer, wouldn't answer, because the truth would hurt us both. Hermione had made the guest list. Hermione had decided who mattered. Hermione had drawn the line and I was on the wrong side of it. My son had let her. It's complicated, he finally said, complicated. 43 years of being his father and now our relationship was complicated. Thursday morning, I overheard them arguing in their bedroom, voices low but urgent, Hermione's tone sharp with frustration. Wesley's heavy with exhaustion. I caught fragments through the thin walls. Space, boundaries, uncomfortable, awkward, all words that described my presence in their home. Friday afternoon, Hermione requested a family meeting. She used those exact words, requested, as if this were a business negotiation rather than a conversation about my future. We sat in the living room, Wesley on the couch beside his wife. Katniss in the armchair looking younger than her 22 years. Sherlock perched awkwardly on the ottoman, clearly wishing he were anywhere else. I took the chair by the window, the one I'd claimed as mine over the past 8 months. The one that apparently wasn't mine at all. Hermione folded her hands in her lap, composed herself like she was about to deliver a presentation. Atticus, we need to discuss your living arrangements. Living arrangements, not home. Not family arrangements. This house isn't working for everyone anymore, she continued. We all need more space, more privacy, more independence. Code words, polite ways of saying I was the problem. There are lovely senior communities nearby, she said. Places where you'd have activities, people your own age, a real support system. Support system, because my family wasn't supporting me anymore. Katniss shifted in her chair. Opened her mouth to speak, Hermione silenced her with a look. We've researched several options, Hermione continued. We're happy to help you visit them, help you choose the best fit. Like I was a puzzle piece that didn't belong in their picture anymore. I looked at my son, the boy I'd taught to ride a bike, to throw a curveball, to treat women with respect. He stared at his hands. How long do I have? I asked. 2 weeks should be enough time to find something suitable, Hermione said. We want this transition to be smooth for everyone. Transition. Suitable, smooth, business words for a business decision, nothing personal, nothing cruel, just practical. Practical was kicking your father-in-law out of the house 8 months after his wife died. Practical was excluding him from family celebrations. Practical was erasing him quietly, efficiently, without mess. I understand, I said. Because what else could I say? This wasn't my house. These weren't my rules. This wasn't my family anymore. Katniss started crying. Quiet tears that she tried to hide behind her hand. Grandpa, you could stay with me and Sherlock after we're married, she said. We're getting a bigger place anyway, sweet girl, generous heart. But I could see Sherlock's face go pale at the suggestion. See him mentally calculating square footage and mortgage payments and the burden of caring for an old man he barely knew. That's very kind, sweetheart, I said, but you too deserve to start your marriage without an old man cluttering up your space. She cried harder. Hermione looked relieved. Wesley still wouldn't meet my eyes. The meeting ended with false promises about staying close, about weekly dinners, about holidays together. Everyone knew they were lies, but lies made the transition smoother. I spent the weekend packing. 8 months of trying to belong reduced to cardboard boxes again. I found things I'd forgotten I owned. A photo of Cordelia and me on our wedding day. A watch Wesley had given me for my 60th birthday. A drawing Katniss had made in 3rd grade showing our whole family holding hands. Back when I was part of the whole. Sunday night, I sat in my nearly empty room and made a list of senior communities to visit. Independent living facilities with names like Sunset Manor and Golden Years and Autumn Ridge. Places where old people went to wait quietly for the end. Monday morning, driving to the first facility, I passed a for sale sign I'd never noticed before. Small house. Overgrown yard, crooked mailbox. Right next door to Wesley and Hermione. I pulled over, stared at that sign until the numbers burned into my memory. For the first time in months, I smiled. I called the realtor that afternoon. Met her at the house Tuesday morning while Wesley and Hermione were at work. The place was smaller than theirs. Older. The kitchen needed updating. The hardwood floors were scratched. The backyard was wild with weeds and forgotten dreams. It was perfect. The previous owner was elderly, the realtor explained. Lived here 40 years before moving to assisted living. The family just wants a quick sale. 40 years, like Cordelia and me in our first house. Like the life we'd built before everything changed. I made an offer that afternoon. Cash, Cordelia's life insurance money that I'd been saving for emergencies. This was an emergency of the heart. The sale closed in 3 weeks. I moved in on a Thursday while my former family was at work. Left no forwarding address. No explanation, no goodbye. They'd wanted me gone. Now I was gone. The first month was silent. I painted walls, fixed the leaky faucet, replaced broken window screens. The house welcomed my attention like a patient friend who'd been waiting for someone to care again. I set up my workshop in the garage, brought my tools out of storage. The smell of oil and metal and precision filled the empty spaces where loneliness used to live. Word spread through the neighborhood. The old man next to the Brambleworths fixed clocks, watches, music boxes. Anything with gears and springs and the promise of keeping time. Mrs. Henderson from down the street brought me her grandmother's pocket watch. Broken for 20 years, she said, too precious to throw away, too expensive to fix. I had it running in 2 hours. She cried when she heard it tick again. Paid me twice what I asked, told her sister. Her sister told her book club told their husbands. By autumn, I had more work than I could handle. The backyard called to me next. I planted Cordelia's rose bushes, carefully transplanted from their pots in my garage, added a vegetable garden, built raised beds for herbs and flowers. The roses bloomed that first spring, fuller and more vibrant than they'd ever been in our old house. Like they'd been waiting for this soil, this light, this chance to start over. Neighbors stopped by to admire the garden, stayed for coffee, asked questions about tomatoes and timing and whether I had any extra seedlings to share. My yard became the neighborhood gathering place, the house where problems got solved and stories got shared and time moved at a gentler pace. I didn't see Katniss for 6 months. Then one Saturday morning she knocked on my front door. She looked thinner, older. The glow from her engagement had dimmed to something more mature, more careful. "Grandpa, I've been looking for you everywhere." She'd tried the senior communities first, then the phone book, finally asked the mailman if he'd seen an old man who used to live next door. "I'm getting married in 3 weeks," she said. I knew, the whole neighborhood knew. Hermione had been planning it like a military campaign. Caterers, florists, photographers, a reception at the country club that cost more than most people's cars. "Will you walk me down the aisle?" Katniss asked. The question I'd dreamed of hearing, the moment I'd imagined since she was 7 years old and announced she was going to marry her stuffed elephant. "What does your father say?" "He says it's my choice." "It's always been my choice. Too little, too late, but still something." And Hermione, Katniss looked away. The answer was in her silence. "I don't care what she thinks," Katniss said finally. "You're my grandfather, you belong there, belong." The word I'd been missing for almost 2 years. "Then yes," I said, "I'd be honored." She hugged me then, long and tight and desperate, like she was afraid I might disappear again. "There's something else," she said. "Sherlock and I want to have the reception here in your garden, if that's okay." I looked out at the roses, the herb beds, the space I'd created for healing and hope and second chances. "It would be perfect," I said. The wedding was small. Intimate, exactly what Hermione had wanted for the engagement dinner I wasn't invited to. But this time, I walked my granddaughter down the aisle. This time, I sat in the front row. This time, when the photographer asked for family pictures, no one had to count chairs or calculate space. The reception in my garden was magical, string lights in the trees, tables scattered across the lawn. Cordelia's roses blooming like they were celebrating too. Wesley found me by the herb garden as the sun was setting. He stood beside me in uncomfortable silence, watching his daughter dance with her new husband. "I'm sorry, Dad," he said quietly. 2 words, 40 years too late, but still something. "I know," I said, because I did know. I knew about marriage and compromise and choosing sides. I knew about the price of peace and the cost of standing up. I knew about being weak when you should be strong and sorry when you should have been brave. Hermione kept her distance all evening, smiled politely when spoken to, complimented the garden through gritted teeth, endured the neighbors who praised my roses and asked for my secret to growing such beautiful things. The secret was simple. You plant them where they want to grow. You give them room to breathe. You don't try to control every aspect of their existence. Some lessons apply to more than gardening. As the last guests left and the cleanup began, Sherlock pulled me aside. "Would you teach me to fix clocks?" he asked. "Katniss says you know how to make broken things work again." I looked at this young man who'd married into our complicated family, who'd chosen love over convenience, who was asking an old man to share his knowledge instead of assuming he had nothing left to offer. "Come by next weekend," I said. "We'll start with something simple." He smiled, shook my hand, called me Grandpa for the first time. Now I sit in my small apartment, holding Katniss's wedding photo. She's radiant in her grandmother's dress. Sherlock looks at her like she's the answer to every question he never knew how to ask. I'm in the picture too, right where I belong. The grandfather clock in my workshop still chimes every hour. But now when it rings, people gather to listen. Time, I've learned, is only meaningful when it's shared with people who value your presence. Some invitations are worth waiting for. Some families choose you back. Some gardens bloom exactly where they're planted.